qualifying mark.
Yeah, we're on.
Hmm.
Just cause look at this.
Looks like we are live. Whilst my tech assistant here finishes booting up the supercomputer. Welcome everyone to our Thursday night Dean and Irv Spin Doctors, episode 10. So we've had one a week. So you'd say we've been going for 10 weeks, but that's not quite true. We had 1 week where we doubled up because I got stuck in a 5-hour council meeting on the night before and had to do a little bit of a catch up. So welcome tonight, Dean.
Mate, how are you? Having a good week?
Very good week. Always a good week with me.
That's good. That's good. I am just working out the tech side of this little game here. Make sure everything goes public for the account. And that's always good.
All right. Well, let's kick off with our trusty
We're about to kick off.
disclaimers.
We're at 7:30, so we better do that.
Okay. Now, my name's Anthony Irvine. I'm a councillor on Temora Shire Council. But all the views I express here are not those of Temora Shire Council. They're mine and mine alone.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'm Dean McRae, and I'm not a member of Temora Shire Council, although I am a reluctant candidate. And I do have to own a statement that I got wrong in the video where I flew solo.
Did you?
I did. Now, I know I'm pretty big on accountability. So when I do find something, a flaw in my armour, I own it. And I was going through today setting up the stream and what have you, and there was a comment from somebody who works Parks and Gardens. Who I'm not going to throw him under the bus because, hey, you want to do that? That's cool. Yeah. Basically saying that when I mentioned that I was talking about the council being in private business, and the way I worded it was wrong. What I worded it as was Parks and Gardens guys would want to go out and have a business funded by council, buying their lawnmowers and paying their insurance and all that sort of caper. So I don't backtrack from that necessarily, but the conversations that I'd had that precluded that wasn't from people currently employed by Parks and Gardens. One was a guy who used to be Parks and Gardens 10 years ago, and another one was actually just a lawnmower business guy in town who obviously the comment in the message to me was, I would love it if council would fund my lawnmowers and my what's name. So you absolutely caught me out on that one. You caught me 100%. Wasn't intended that way, but I'll own it straight away. It was worded incorrectly, but the discussion was based on that point of topic. So I'll own it as always, straight up and land it. On that one, I worded it wrong, but there's something on there about going to the Gibber. Go for it. Do nuts. Fill your boots. Whatever you like. But as far as that goes, I just thought I'd better address that. So one of the conversations I had was with somebody I'm pretty sure was on Parks and Gardens on council 10 years ago. Now, that would have been nice. And then another guy who sort of is currently in that space. And the concept being that I oppose councils funding private businesses. So
there's a huge difference for anyone who has got a mortgage and car repayments and rent and whatever else, and they're in business and they're putting up their money and they have to get paid each week to pay all their bills and meet their outgoings and still put food on the table, as opposed to someone who has a benevolent benefactor who
that's right.
purchases the equipment,
exactly,
puts the booking system in place for them, pays all the outgoings, de-risks the operation to the point where all they do is they turn up and they get paid.
Yeah,
for every
and
hour
that was the point of the statement, and I buggered it up somewhat.
Yep.
And there it is. So I mean, to those who are offended,
that's always the carrot. It's always the carrot for the independent, self-employed small business operator.
Yes,
the carrot is always
security. Safety. Absolutely.
Oh, wrap me in your blanket, give me a cuddle,
daddy,
it's cold out here. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
I'm not mad that they're a bit pissed off by the wording. Fair play, but offences taken, not given. I've just apologised for it. There you go. The wording. If you want to continue to be upset by it, by all means, fill your boots. I won't be re-apologising.
Okay, so you've got nothing to answer in that respect. No misinformation from you.
No misinformation, and it was clarified as soon as I discovered that there was a problem.
That reminds me, I've got to go back and change one of my Facebook posts because, just being cheeky, I referred to you as Mayor McRae. Now, that's not true, is it? But that's a joke. For anyone who hasn't got a sense of humour, that was intended as a joke.
Oh, yes. Well,
So
there's
I will have to go back and I'll change the wording to
a lot of
potential
struggling.
future mayor McCrush.
God, I hope not.
Ah.
You know, God, I hope not.
Well, we'll see. Now, there was a bit of a flow on from what we
Last
thought were
week was pretty
legitimate.
well.
We thought were legitimate guests of people who got on and
Oh,
logged in
right.
and-
So we're talking about the. All right.
Yes.
So comments. So let me be very clear. If you're going to comment in the stream, I have no problem with showing it. Whether it's talking about my sex life, which is apparently fantastic, which for the record, I'm pretty good at that shit, and it's been pretty fun. And I certainly don't make an apology for it. But for some reason, people think that's some sort of gotcha moment as well. It's never going to be a thing that I'm going to give two shits about. But all good for you guys. And if you are enjoying any of that shit, feel free to, get me an OnlyFans.
I was going to say you could monetize it.
Fundraise. I'll monetize it. I don't care at all.
Even a GoFundMe.
Coming at me is just silly with these things because I don't care about that stuff. I've always been honest and upfront about.
Well,
I'm a libertarian. I'm not a conservative.
yes.
So I'm not violating my values. But I'll tell you what. Look, last week a heap of comments come up. Some seemed a little bit excitable.
Yes.
To say the least, from notables. Now, I'm going to say this about some of the notables. I know that the notables in question, some of them have been watching and have certainly liked various posts, whether deliberately or by accident, before. So it is not out of the realm of possibility to think that they may or may not be watching and or willing to participate. And I've invited them all to participate every time, every week. But we've received a letter, or you've received a letter. I haven't even opened my mailbox this week.
No, well, it was an interesting letter, and what's today's date? 29th. So it was dated yesterday, so it's relatively fresh.
That's very fresh. Yeah, of course.
And it comes from Temora Shire Council.
Well, that's fair enough.
From the General Manager. Now, it's addressed to me, and it says, I write to advise you of information that has come to light in regards to your recent YouTube live episode, Dean and Irv Spin Doctors, episode 9, on the 22nd of August, 2024. So, Council's been advised that some comments displayed at the bottom of the screen during this episode appeared to be from government officials.
That's very true.
Well,
they did appear to be from government officials,
after,
and to the best of my knowledge, that's what they are.
After concern was raised, after reading this letter, after concern was raised, we investigated further. And the following parties have informed us that they did not comment live during your show. So Mayor Rick Furman, OAM Councillor, Temora Shire Council, at the timestamps shown here, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 timestamps.
We can read them or provide them if you'd like.
The Honourable Michael McCormick MP, member for Riverina, timestamp, and Chris Dunstan, Director of Environmental Services, Temora Shire Council, timestamp. Council has sought advice from Australian Cyber Security Centre.
That's a good place to start.
Australian Signals Directorate. And as per their advice, we have reported these comments and spam accounts to YouTube for investigation under spam or misleading scams or fraud. Council's advised the above officials of Australian Cyber Security Centre's advice to report these individuals' incidents to Scamwatch.
Very cool. If they are indeed false.
Well, from what we've got here, there's a denial that
those accounts were legitimate.
The Honourable Michael McCormick and
fair
Chris Dunstan, Director of Environmental Services, have denied that they were their accounts. So we must only assume, because these are honourable people.
Well,
because it says it in the thing, Honourable Michael McCormick.
Well, look, Michael McCormick and I have had the odd debate on things, but
So, Council has also referred this matter to the Electoral Commission, New South Wales Electoral Commission, for their consideration, as the matter involves yourself, me, and other registered candidates in the upcoming local government election. It's Council's position that it's important that parties are informed, and therefore advise you as a local government candidate presenter that these accounts appear to be fraudulent and misleading. So,
for the record on that,
from the GM,
if they are fraudulent and misleading, I hope that the cyber security mob throw the book at whoever's doing it. Like I like to own my shit, right? I do all my shit under my name.
Yes.
I'm extremely public with all
Yeah,
that.
there
You know, be it my
You
sex
don't
life,
hide
be it
behind
my mistake on
Yeah.
that, you know, be it my DUI thing. I'm never hidden behind any damn
and
thing.
you
So
certainly don't hide behind a fake
a fake,
YouTube,
yeah, no, that's right.
YouTube
So
or
if
Facebook.
whoever tried to pull that shit, which look, I was a bit
It was
surprised.
Facebook Live, wasn't it?
Facebook
So,
Live
uh,
and
uh,
YouTube. So I'm not sure which
Right.
account was doing that,
Okay.
but that's up to
That's up
cyber
for-
security mod.
That's up to the
But
Australian.
that's fair play. Look, if you put your hand in a tiger's cage and it gets bitten, well, fair play. So whoever did
If
that,
you want to engage in shit fuckery,
yeah, yeah, that's right. You could possibly get fucked.
you
But
could,
but
the
you know,
Australian Cyber Security Centre could turn up and knocking on your door.
yes, and I won't be.
They
I
could
won't
take your laptop and find all that porn.
as long as it's an adult porn, I don't care.
Well-
Unlike those pricks coming out of Junee today, which we're going to get onto that because we need a wood chipper for some of those bitches.
So that's interesting. Now, I don't know. I imagine there's a few people who are going in town at the moment or elsewhere.
Wherever
If
they are.
someone's been clever enough to invent these
Oh, look, it's not hard.
Fake
It's not
IDs
hard to do
and,
that. To do that shit, but accountability.
impersonate a federal member of parliament.
That's ballsy. Probably
Well,
not real bright.
I'd reckon somewhere, because there's a rule for everything.
Of
I
course.
reckon there's a rule against impersonating a federal member of parliament.
You'd have to think so. There's rules
Now,
against.
some people would say the mayor's been impersonating being a mayor.
Well, and arguably that the member of parliament's impersonating being a politician,
But
you know,
impersonating them,
yes, is definitely likely
could
to be
well
some sort of
be
a
an
crime.
offence.
Yeah, it could be an offence of some sort. And hey, look, again, as I always say, you jump into the ring, you pay your accountability, and
Yeah.
you get on with it. You
Now,
know, like,
isn't it good to see that council hopped onto this straight away
oh, well, they're very diligent.
and they were so thorough?
Were they that thorough when it came to some of the requests you had for NCAT that made the paper again today? For I don't know, what are we on, six covers? Pretty good marketing, really.
That is because any exposure,
Oh,
any press is good.
all press is good
Yeah.
press. Yeah.
And there's people in no doubt that I am the devil incarnate.
No, but that element,
See?
they're going to hate you and I anyway.
666, just there.
Yes. The element that are going to hate you and I are going to hate you and I, no matter what they read in the paper.
I know.
So who cares?
That's okay. Water off a duck's back. We've been here for 5 or 6 years. It's okay. Scar tissue don't bleed.
Correct.
So
Amen.
that's where that's at. Now, like I say, if I was one of the people who may have created a
False account.
false account to impersonate a federal member for parliament and then posted it worldwide on social media,
Absolutely. It's not real bright. Not real bright. Might have been funny at the time.
I'd have a pain in the tum-tum.
Oh, yeah, I'd be feeling pretty cool. But on that, look, do you know what? Some of these guys need to get a bit of a thicker skin, and probably if they were engaging, people wouldn't think they were in a position to do that. Yeah, there's an element of that.
Anyway, so we have set the record straight yet again, and we have cured
a little bit more spin. Yeah.
And
Look,
I'm telling you, there's not going to be much spin left in the world. It'll stop spinning.
no, that'll be climate change doing that.
Well, some people reckon the world will stop spinning if we get elected.
Apparently so. Or,
Now, just to follow up on that final point there,
yeah, mate.
Council referred the matter to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. Now, you've got a bit of an update on
Oh, yes. I had a phone call. So some people forget that I had a fair bit of dealings with the New South Wales Electoral Commission in my former life with now the Libertarian Party, formerly the Lib Dem. So I have dealt with the Electoral Commission for quite a long time in various capacities. So I'm not inept at discussing matters with them. I did get a call from a fellow at the Electoral Commission, and what he did say is that all of our content has been all Mickey Mouse above board. There's been nothing wrong with it. The only thing, and it was on me again, I didn't have that disclaimer up and the authorised by. So you may have seen at the start of the program, you've got to put the authorised by up. So I created a little logo there. I put it there. That's got to be up for, I think it's at least 20 seconds. They do change the rules fairly regularly, and I'm not as passionate about
So you
keeping
just
up
gotta
with
put
this shit.
authorised by your name, your street address.
Yeah, and I did check with him while I spoke to him, and it was funny because he said he has been watching our videos, and he did say, he said, no, look, there's nothing in there that's not perfectly within the scope of this,
The Electoral
this
Commission's remit.
within the Electoral
Well, that's
Commission's
nice, though,
room,
so
which
we
is
can-
nice to know. But
We'll tick that off on this
what he
letter.
did, yes. So that part we're all under control.
Yes.
But he did sort of give me a little smack on the authorization. So I put that up at the start for the 20 odd seconds, and I will play it again at the, just before we sign out at the end of the night, just to make sure that that little box is ticked. I'm pretty sure he said 20 seconds, so I'll leave it up to 30 or 40.
You're not going to make excuses for us because we probably should have been across that. But
sure,
the show started before.
the show was happening before the election time kicked in, so we're probably a week out. What I also, so on my socials, it actually has authorised by.
Yes.
So it's sort of the same thing with the YouTube channel. I just got to make sure there's that authorised by.
Yes.
On the actual profile, and it's all coming. And to all the other candidates that are listening in, watching in, just remember that. Use our error in the space.
You
to not.
Your interaction with the Electoral Commission was
Positive and encouraging, actually.
helpful,
Very helpful.
friendly.
Very friendly. Look, as I said, I've had a bit of an ongoing relationship with them in various capacities for quite a few years. I don't know this fella directly, but I've dealt with them to a tune of. I'm sure we've all got a file there. My file with them says shoots pretty straight, and if there's ever been a problem in my role with the Lib Dems, it's on the phone, there's an email, it's a whatever, and particularly,
and they are 99.9% of the time they would be genuine oversights by the candidates who are overworked, underpaid.
Yes. So what I found in my experience is if you're a volunteer sort of role, they're far more generous and gentle with you than if you're in a paid role. Well, as the Liberal Party recently found out. Yeah. And rightfully so.
Yes.
Rightly so. The Liberal Party has,
if they can't get
huge bank account. Yeah. No, it was embarrassing.
They've got a machine.
We had
the machine broke down.
Sure, right. The LNP's broken down. Let's be fair. As an organisation, that whole thing's bugging, right? And I've said this a million times. If the Liberal Party did what it says in its "We Believe" statement, I'd be a member of the Liberal Party. I would never have joined the. Libertarians.
That goes to every politician. If every politician who got into power did what they said when they were in opposition, I'd be a happy guy.
Oh, look, because
wouldn't the easiest job in the world is to be in opposition, make all these promises now,
and then not live up to any of them.
One thing I want to tell anyone: if you've got a pothole, if you've got a tree branch in the road, if there's any little bug at the moment, get onto the man because he's in the mood.
Oh, he's going to be getting things fixed. Absolutely, he'll be all over that.
He sent me an email today. He was trying to get some roads fixed for.
Yeah, it'll be like a fat kid on a cupcake, and he'll be running around 100 mile an hour trying to get things done.
So if you want, say, to duplicate the Newell Highway between, say, Gundawinga and Finland, here's the time to put in the application. I don't know about the heavy vehicle bypass.
I'll tell you what. I was sitting down the other night, right now, and again, this is I take a serious issue with the fact that all the other councillors are sort of stifled from having their personal say in council matters and what they've been doing and what they've been trying to achieve. I would, and this is not me being a smarmy arsehole, although I know my personality drives that vibe. I would love to know not just what Rick's up to every week. I would love, and David Limbrick does it very well in Victoria. I'd love for a Max Oliver or a Claire McLaren or an Anthony Irvine or a Belinda Bushell or a Jason Good or whoever's currently there on a weekly or fortnightly, monthly, whatever. I mean, what's Rick going in the paper once a month with his mayor report of everything he's done?
This is one of the biggest criticisms I've got of the mayor's style. Is that he basically is a hog of the spotlight, and I don't know whether it's an insecurity thing.
Well, I wouldn't mind betting it is.
But realistically, there's councillors in there who've put their heart and soul into different projects. And I think...
And they can't come out and own it.
Well, they deserve recognition for what they've done. But as soon as it comes to the ribbon cutting, it's get out of the road. The big dog's in town.
David Limbrick does it really well in Victoria. So if you don't know David Limbrick, check him out. He was arguably the closest thing to an opposition leader Dan Andrews had during COVID. Great guy. I've spent a fair bit of time with him. I've campaigned for him and with him. great guy doing a great job in Victoria, but every week or fortnight, or however often he does it, he actually puts out a little, like a graphic, and it says, this week in Parliament, I voted on A, B, C, D. I opposed this. I stood for this. These are the things that I tabled because I want to see happen, whatever, what we did this week, this month. Now, he's a man who's getting obviously, I don't know, what are they getting, 220 grand a year plus?
Well, he's depending on, and he's probably past that. He's probably made that a role for one of his assistants.
Oh, sure, it'd be one of the staff members, and I'm not directly involved in the party anymore, but he makes that happen every week because he believes as a.
Well, but you can tell with this most recent election and the way it's being portrayed in the paper, it's Team Rick.
Oh, it's Team Rick or it's Team Anthony.
No, it's not Team Anthony. Anthony's just the lone voice who's resisted it.
Yeah, that's the paper indicated that you had one lone supporter.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, so but that's the whole thing.
I would love for Claire McLaren, and Claire, I'm not taking shots at Claire or anything, any way, shape, or form, but she's her because the name popped into my head. I'd love at the end of a council meeting for Claire to have a Facebook page where, let's be fair, it's 2024. People don't interact in the Temora Independent anymore. The Hit Job Herald dead in the water. But for Claire at the end of the week, the month, the year, whatever she liked, to be able to come out and go, this is what I worked on as your council representative this week. I worked on this, I did that. Now, every now and then a snippet in the paper will go in that's council week or whatever that thing was where you even got a nice thing about going to the railway station and cooking chips or whatever you did. But I'd love to see that out of whoever gets elected. I've been very public, I'm always very public. I've got a big loud mouth, but on my Facebook, I have shared the candidates' pages that I could find for Sigrid Carr, who I don't really know what her policies are per se, but she did have great little interaction on some of the questions I posed. Great, good on you. If you're elected, please don't stop.
Yes.
Same as this Mitch, can't remember his surname. Mitch Farlow. Now, I probably couldn't pick this guy out of a police lineup.
You won't have to. He won't get in trouble with the police.
Oh, well, good for Mitch. But
out of a lineup of Zumba instructors.
Mate, I don't know the guy, but I took his post and or his little post he was running. I shared it. I said, everyone check this guy out. Yeah. If you like him, vote for him. Yeah. Marty Bushby's finally got his thing. I played soccer with Marty. I reckon Marty and I agree on some stuff, completely disagree on other stuff. But again,
check him out. He's put his hand up. It's all about diversity. It's all about a wide range of opinion.
I don't know
what qualifies someone else's opinion
as more valid than somebody else's. Yeah. That's right. And I'm happy to share them all. And I know, there are some people who would love to see me on council, and then there's some who detest the idea. And I think I'm in the detest the idea group. Right? But I do like the idea of being able to hold the machine accountable. This isn't, for me, it's not about, look, they've made it a bit personal with me lately, so I'm probably throwing a few more jabs than I usually would in the personal direction. And I'm not going to apologise for that either. But I want to see these people do good work. And if they're doing negative shit on the ratepayer dollar, it pisses me off.
If someone comes into my workshop and they're picking up a job that staff members help me with or done fundamentally, and they say, geez, you've done a great job on that. As often as I can, and as I always try and remember, I say, no. They did.
They did a great job.
Yeah, and they just get a bit of a spring and they think, great, I've been recognised.
Yep.
The customer actually goes,
how good was that? Yeah, great job.
Yep. A good company trusts.
And your employees have always sort of stayed with you forever. Obviously, you had one bloke who had a pretty serious reason to depart, your employee, but you've always seemed to, from what I understand, had reasonably long-term employment relations.
Yeah,
you don't churn through an employee a week or anything.
No. It's generally a reasonably and it's always circumstances intervene. Sometimes they're using it as a stopgap. Other times, it's just.
Oh, mate, I was in hospitality for 25 years. The amount of really good staff that come through that are just stopgap.
Employed as casual. Yeah. And they need full time or.
Yeah.
It's always just.
But you're not a revolving door of shit where people leave your employee going, that bastard.
No. They're usually there for. I don't think I've ever had anyone. I might have had one person for 6 months, but they moved.
Yeah. Life happens, but
And believe it or not, I expect someone who turns up to work to actually work and to apply
That's
themselves.
outrageous.
And probably one of the most difficult interactions I had with a staff member was one of my younger brothers. And
I actually sacked my sister once.
well, anyway, long
Sacked my
story
wife
short,
as well.
long story short, he was having a great time after hours, and that was affecting his efficiency or his application at work. And
Thanks, Clancy.
and we had to sort of make a decision, and the decision was that he probably should find something else to do. Now, he worked through a couple of jobs, but the kick in the arse didn't hurt him because he ended up getting put on at Cargill when Cargill was standalone over at Wagga.
Yeah.
And
found a
on
bit
the
of a niche for himself. Doing
then
what
he
he
worked
liked.
through and he showed obviously some potential and some leadership.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting into the office across the road, and then he started doing their IT.
Yep.
Now, he worked up through the ranks and became a valuable member of their team, to the point that when Cargill and Tees merged and they were relocating the management team from Wagga to Brisbane,
Yep.
there were 30 odd in the office at the time, and they took 8.
Yeah,
Well, he
right.
was one of the 8.
Yeah, okay.
So he's still,
So he's found a niche.
Well,
Like,
but he's still with the company, and he's the leader in that area now.
yeah.
But if I had have allowed him to keep wasting his time and wasting my time,
Yeah.
perhaps it might not have been the impetus to actually aim up and end up where he is. It was a difficult time, but we get on great now, and I think we both understand that maybe he's probably dodged a bullet. He could have ended up
Doing a job he
Better.
hated for the rest of his
he didn't
life.
hate it. He was going to be quite okay at it, but I still think he's probably got a better job in that role that he could have achieved being a sign writer in a small country town.
Yeah. No,
So-
fair play.
So, I think that ended well. So I just think it is, there's nothing wrong with like you say, you sacked your sister. I sacked him.
Mate.
We must be
And
terrible.
I'll tell you what, she was mad at me for the first 6 months, and now she does very, very well
Yeah,
in
and she would
her
thank you.
roles. And
Yeah.
she came back and she went, "You're probably right. I was kind of taking the piss."
Yeah.
My wife, we actually get along better now than what we did when we were married. We don't talk all that often, but we could sit there arguably and have a laugh about our 20s and go, "Well, yeah, you kind of were skiving off far too hard on other people's money." And I just don't like it. I don't like it in the private sector. I don't like it in the public sector where you can't sack the
I'm
problems.
not going to pretend that I've turned up at work every day, brand new. I tell you, I was a bloody
I-
rabbit.
God, no. I'm not saying you expect it all day, every day, perfect. But if you're missing more days than you're showing up,
Yes.
and if if your attitude's shitty, or you're taking a piss on the person who's paying you, which again,
They're entitled to take a piss back.
absolutely, and
You can't
that's well,
They decide that someone else is turning up in better order and working a bit harder for them.
that's right. That's right. Somebody wants the job more. Somebody wants the respect a bit more. Fair
Yeah.
play.
Now,
Oh no, what have we got?
So-
You're on the front page of the paper again.
So-
Did I get a mention in this week's paper? Can anybody tell me? I don't read it, obviously.
well,
Nobody sent me any photos or screenshots of the paper with me being called a bastard.
I haven't
this
seen
week.
anything. Now,
There was a guy who got arrested for 50 grams of marijuana. I saw.
50 kilos.
You read the spelling error on it. 50 grams in the article. Somebody
Oh.
sent that to me today.
50 grams of
50,
drugs.
50 grams of drugs. 50 grams.
That's just one big fat joint.
So it's either a case of, once again, we got 50 kilos, in which case might justify that, or we've got 50 grams because the editor of the local rag doesn't know how to do editing, can't read, write, count, or spell, apparently.
When he cut and pastes, he doesn't run the spell check.
He's not running the spell check or the fact check or anything in
Well,
between.
he doesn't run the fact check. That. Now, I think Propaganda Pete might be a bit sore from the editorial bowel motion that he took last week.
It was pretty intense.
It was biblical proportions.
It was pretty good, yeah.
And I think there's every possibility he probably needed some stitches.
Mate, look, I can take all the criticism in the world. I can absolutely dig if somebody doesn't like me or doesn't like my policies, and my policies are a little bit edgy. I get that, but I'll tell you what.
Yeah, he went
He
above and beyond. That was probably up there with some of the most disgusting editorial content that he's ever pushed out the back end. And he smeared it all over the walls.
Oh,
He smeared everywhere.
it was pretty impressive.
It
And
was-
I still wouldn't know what this bloke looked like.
It
You
was
could walk
next
in here
level.
now and I'd be thinking, who's this clown?
Well, anyway,
You'd have to identify him for me because I wouldn't know what he looked like.
we're not going to go into that.
Well, I mean, obviously he's not as good looking as I am because I'm like male model material, clearly.
So he's had the week off, and what he's basically done is he's spewed up the media release that we read out last week.
Yes, yes.
Now, and he's also spewed up, and he's found a little chestnut in here that he's led with the claim that police investigated Councillor Irvine's allegation and found no Temora Shire Council staff member had committed any criminal offence. Well, hooray!
Well done.
Her bloody
That's-
right.
I'm really glad that
That's a red letter of day, isn't it?
I love our staff
our
not
staff
doing crime.
Yes, that's a good day.
Crime is for people like me on the outside who get in trouble for doing silly things, yeah?
So he's actually gone to the effort and he's managed to squeeze out, and I imagine it would have hurt because he squeezed out one paragraph this week. I think he put all his effort into the editorial bowel motion of biblical proportions last week. So
Cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste.
yes, so it's basically word for word, and although he has managed to bold, he makes a little point of saying every time it mentions the applicant, they're talking about
That bad bastard.
yes. So let's just clear up the
Is he third generation money or something, or has he got a dream of being a Kerry Packer style
I
media
don't
baron, or has he
know.
just got some sort of wet dream because he hasn't got anywhere near the balls or capability of a Kerry Packer? I
he
suspect.
reminds me of one of them little foxies that when you sit down on a bench or something, he jumps on your leg and starts humping it. That's just the picture that's in my mind. So
I don't know. Oh, Temora Gully. That's a that's a funny word. I'll tell you what. You call somebody a gully anywhere in the world outside of Temora, and they look at you like you've got two heads because they're like, "What the hell does that even mean?" I don't know who Temora Gully is. You know who this is. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. I'll rack my brain, but here to bring peace to this town. Well, I've got no problem with peace in the town,
fantastic.
but a few things need to be, I guess. The air.
That's the whole thing, and this is
this is
where
what he
people are hypersensitive.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about, and this is what we said last week. If we were to get elected, I guarantee that the bins will get picked up.
Oh, the potholes will still be filled.
potholes-
The
lawns will get-
the road crews will still
The
do their
machine will
work.
continue moving
The
forward.
only variable is with me there. Instead of councillors and upper echelon getting pay rises, it'll be the troops. I'll be looking at getting pay rises and extra time off and cool.
And
shit
there'll
like
just be
that.
a little bit more scrutiny on some of the junkets or the
Yeah,
perceived.
it'll all be the upper echelon that'll be
Yes.
being held to account because I don't really,
No, I've got no.
I think our grassroots troops are fantastic.
Yes.
You know that actually now I don't know whether
Now that's
my old man got a needle stick injury.
yes.
Cleaning out one of the toilets here in town. It was pretty serious shit. You can imagine. Like
Yeah,
that
I
was,
know a guy, and you can get Hep C. And you can get all sorts of information.
absolutely.
Back in the day, they were talking about AIDS.
He did all that through whenever all that sort of shit went on, and you know, like it's pretty wild. Like,
Did they look after him?
I think it was reasonable. You know, like, and again, I was a kid, so you know how looked after I don't know. But these guys on grassroots of council. Oh, somebody here, oh, this is a bit X-rated. Fair enough. That's very romantic. I'm a gully too. Yeah, sure. No drama. And that's awfully romantic.
Well, you don't probably have to put that up, actually.
Well, no, I have to put it up, but then I'll have to take it down because obviously we don't want our
It's a
sensitive
little bit
folks.
X-rated. There could be
It's a little bit X-rated, and we've got some, we do have some,
young viewers,
well, young viewers.
future voters.
We've got some reasonably Christian folk I know that
Yeah,
watch this
we
channel,
don't
and
need to be looking.
I'm happy enough to put that up there as because I do put everything out there. There's nothing to hide, but that's awfully romantic.
Okay, now let's get back into the serious stuff. Okay. Council's recently been subject to 2 legal proceedings in the New South Wales Civil Administrative Tribunal. No, they were administrative reviews of decisions made by council. It's a mechanism within the GIPA Act.
Yep.
So they're not legal proceedings per se. They're part of the GIPA Act. Yes, they involve a hearing. Yes, they involve a tribunal member, but it's not as perhaps as serious as laid out there.
Yeah.
Following 2 disputes submitted by the applicant. No, if you don't agree with the decision, you can ask for it to be reviewed. Simple. Council, this is a statement from the General Manager. Council has tried to avoid the cost of litigation. It's not litigation.
Yes.
It's a mechanism put in place by the government to review decisions to ensure that the correct decision is made.
But the correct decision in this...
It is the administrative tribunal.
Yeah.
So they review decisions. So it's not litigation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's misinformation.
So we're talking... This is fake news.
What it is, and I'm telling you, what I am going to do as a councillor for Temora Shire Council, on Temora Shire Council, I'm going to take this up as a priority because there are so many false statements in this media release that it cannot go unchallenged.
Yep, fair enough.
So that's something I'm going to be doing early next week. And as I've said, there's some really rank false facts in this and misinformation in this media release. So I'm just going to point out the glaringly obvious ones. Now, the applicant had chosen to take these matters to a hearing at NCAT, which meant that council has had to engage lawyers to prepare and submit evidence from council officers. No, you don't. You have the opportunity to represent yourself at NCAT. The parties take on their own costs.
Yep.
So I represented myself. I haven't got the means to engage a Sydney law firm to represent myself at NCAT in such simple matters.
Yep, yep.
It's not litigation. It's not high-powered, Supreme Court matters.
So it's pretty straightforward.
It's not sheep stations. It's the review of a decision.
Yep.
So they didn't have to spend the money. They chose to spend the money.
What else have they managed to put in there this week?
The great success they've had that in the police report, which is the subject of one of these applications, was that there was no criminal offences committed by Temora Shire Council.
Good. That's excellent. I'm happy with that. That
there
pleases me.
Criminal offences committed by an individual, an unfortunate individual, who was asked to assist council. That's one part of this that I struggle to understand.
Yeah.
And it appears that Temora Shire Council asked an individual from within the community to assist with a matter.
Yep.
That person assisted, and throughout the giving of this assistance, certain circumstances have occurred,
yep,
whereby that individual has ended up being criminally charged. Now, I struggle to understand how that can occur.
Mm.
How can someone who is lending assistance to council end up with criminal charges?
That's a worry.
And that was what basically my quest for answers to these questions emanated from. And when it was stonewalled and when there was no information forthcoming, well, you've got no choice but to then request it via some mechanism.
Well, your other choice is to shut up and do not ask questions because none of your business, because...
Don't rock the boat.
Yes.
But I don't think it's good enough. When council ask a member of the public to assist them and then that member of the public ends up being criminally charged, something's broken down.
Something's not quite right in that system.
Something has broken down. And the police report basically pointed out the shortcomings in council's procedures. Now, for anybody who is specifically interested in this matter, they can quite simply approach Temora Shire Council and request a copy of the document. If you want to know all of the gory details, it's publicly released.
Well, look, again, out of the three involved, I know one of them quite well. I think he's a bloody good bloke. I've got no issues with him whatsoever. But there's clearly a problem when these sort of things happen.
I feel sorry for the victims. I feel sorry for the unfortunate individual who got entangled in this matter when they were actually asked to lend assistance in the first instance.
Well, that's, yeah, fair. Exactly.
You know what I mean? And there's obviously been an absolute massive breakdown in protocol, procedure, whatever you want to call it. And I don't believe that council were responsive enough towards the victims. I believe the victim's got a pretty
And that's
formal-
usually one of the biggest complaints
Yes.
in this space is when something goes wrong, instead of owning it as quickly as you can and solving it as quickly as you can,
Yeah.
best I can tell that thing drew out for 6 months.
Oh,
and then,
way more. No.
well, okay, well there you go.
I think
So,
it occurred in September 2022, and it was resolved in November 2023, and then the victims received a formal apology with some admissions in January 2024, and I received a copy of the report, which I requested back in June. I think it was June 2023. I got that in about August 2024. So that's 15 months, 14, 15 months.
yeah,
ago.
so it's just a matter of, again, own your shit.
Well,
Something obviously went wrong. Own it,
Peter
fix it, get onto it.
Peter
Whatever.
Johnson FC, the chair of the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission, made the point at a really good breakfast in Wagga, and he basically said most of the problems that come before these bigger authorities are small matters that are resolved, that are handled poorly in the first instance.
Yeah.
And this, to mine, is another one of those small matters that was handled poorly in the first instance, and then just due to mismanagement.
Yeah,
That's my interpretation of it. That's my opinion of it. I believe that there's been significant mismanagement in this process.
Oh, look, of course.
Then there's been
Something's gone savagely wrong.
significant poor outcomes for the victims. There's been poor outcomes for the individual who
Helping out,
ostensibly
enlisted to assist.
helping counsel. There's been poor outcomes for counsel.
Yeah.
There's been poor outcomes for me.
Well, yeah, yes.
You know, and the whole thing should, number one, never have happened, and number two, when it did, it should have been dealt with quickly and openly and transparent.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I don't know why that's so challenging.
Back to our friend. Now, it's funny this week, this little headline and stuff didn't even attract the words opinion.
Oh, well.
Because they've lifted it, but I still think that's a fair bit of opinion. There's not a lot of fact there.
There's not a lot of fact. It's just not his opinion. It's just somebody else's opinion.
But your indiscretion, your most recent indiscretion, was an offence committed in Wagga.
Yep.
Heard in the Wagga courthouse.
Yep.
Propaganda Pete managed to get hold of that information, track that down, and report on that locally.
Absolutely.
Well, the matters concerning this other police report here, there were hearings in the local court at Temora, which the Temora Independent does a monthly court report.
Yeah.
But none of that was reported locally.
Well,
the sentencing occurred at Young, and that wasn't reported, even though it was a local matter, dealing with, issues that emanated from a council process.
And look, I've
Now, is there some possibility that it's been not reported just out of a wish to keep it quiet?
Well, it depend on your viewpoint. My viewpoint on these matters, and I think I made a little video about it a few months ago when they got really excited with me the first time. I've got a two-edged sword on this, right? If you're accepting public money as a public figure, or if you're a politician who's receiving taxpayer dollars, scrutiny is absolutely a must.
Or you're a government authority that's expending.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking relative to this little space.
Well, there's no one in terms of a council law.
I can fully go, okay, here's the court news. Joe Smith, DUI, 6 months, end of story. That's just what's happened. Done. I can understand that being a one-off story. I could understand Sally, whatever her name is, single mother, and I'm just pulling that, people out of my bum, done speeding 130. She was driving to Wagga and she was, I don't know, singing, dancing, having a good time, whatever the case may be, got done, lost a lot, whatever, right? I don't have a problem with there being court reports that are basically. If you're a public paid official, I have no sympathy when your shit comes out in the paper and in the media, right? Now, that means when Barnaby got done rolling drunk, I find Barnaby hilarious, right? But you can't come out and make up bullshit. You just own it. You go, he was smashed at a party on the government dollar because that's the world that he lives in. Now, he's got to, as far as I'm concerned, accept the hit. Albo today got done saying some shit on camera. Well, the Prime Minister of the country, nuts. What did you think was going to happen? People going to come gunning for you, whether I like Albo or not. Well, no, I don't really like Albo. But the point being, you're on the taxpayer dollar. Now, I'm in a slightly different category. I don't get any taxpayer dollars. I don't take a cent.
Well, at the time, you weren't a political candidate. You weren't running for any elections. You were just Joe Average, who effed up. And
look,
they came flying for you.
They came flying 100 mile an hour, and they thought it was the best win in the world because their goal for that was to make me stay out of the public space.
That occurred when you were beginning to give me an opportunity to talk about some of this stuff on your community radio show that you were running on a Thursday night.
Oh, absolutely.
And that tended to, it seemed to obviously cause them some great pain. And then they went to the trouble of the radio station then came out and said, we don't want Councillor Irvine on your show.
I told them to bugger off. That's a local issue.
We don't want you to talk about local community issues.
Which is pretty wild on the community radio show.
And I think you told them to take their job.
Absolutely bash it throughout their bum. Again, I don't earn any money from any of this shit, right?
Well,
I don't do. But I tell you what, and I'll be as blatant and blunt as I can with this. I had no intention of putting my hand up for this little election until the hit job started rolling out. And then I just went, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, like
this will be fun.
Propaganda Pete last week when he was having that editorial dump of biblical proportions. It says you were a sacked announcer.
A sacked announcer? Well, I was never employed.
Yes, and I think you told them that you probably wouldn't be in and take the radio station and do what you like with it.
It was pretty well the letter that they received from me.
That doesn't sound like a sacking.
And I'll tell you what, and if you go back through all my Facebook pages and stuff back for about that period of time, you'll find all the letters and the correspondence of me going, bugger off. Yes. No, I won't be complying, and I don't really care what your outcome is.
I think every sensible person who's following any of these election shenanigans via the Temora Independent really does need to take it with a massive pinch of salt, because it is really skewed heavily.
How many copies do they sell? 200 a week?
I don't know.
They're selling bugger all. Nobody's buying the bloody paper anymore. That shit's done,
I've bought it for all my life. I've been in Temora, and I'll continue to buy it regardless of the quality of the editor, in the hope that one day they get a decent editor.
Well, that's,
you know what I mean?
Fair. I mean, who owns it now?
Harley Higgins was one fellow mentioned. It's some media group. They own a few regional papers. That was owned by Watson Wilkie Publishing up at Tumut for a period of time. They were the last owners. They sold it to I can't remember what the name of the group is.
They'd have to be shooting bricks. Like, sales have got to be fucking tanking. They've gone from 2 episodes a week.
They've certainly jacked their
price up
price up considerably.
What's the price for advertising these days?
That's what I'm saying.
That's up as well.
Quite a bit, yes. So they've cut one edition, they've increased their advertising price,
and they've increased their
ticket price. So they are making every attempt to make the thing viable.
Well, as long as you get 5 or 6 photos of the mayor a week, you've had a good run.
Well, I can't complain really. Everyone else is having to pay for their advertising.
Me too. I won't be paying. I got asked today, am I doing how to vote cards? No, vote for whoever the hell you want to. And no, I won't be paying for any advertising because I don't care.
I've had about 5 front pages in the last month, so I'm doing okay.
You're doing very well. And again, the people who are going to hate you are going to hate you. But there's an awful lot of people who are reading this going, this is hit job after hit job. They don't care. So, and guys, as far as the few guys here with a few comments that are bit funny. Margot Robbie's sensational. I'm not going to disagree with you there, bro. Rick Ross, whoever you are. Now, as we read out, and I don't know if you just tuned in late or what, but there has been a bit of a response from last week's special guests. Yeah, that's why there's some response from last week's special guests that we know well. We know now that they were allegedly fake accounts and whatever. Just so you all know that the Temora Shire Council has apparently started proceeding to look into fake accounts relative to the things popping up on this program. And it's one of the mobs that they've enlisted. And this is not because I'm not afraid to put anything up here, because I agree. I've got questions about the Temora Cemetery as well. But if you've got a fake profile up,
they've passed it on to the Australian Cyber Security Centre the Australian Signals Directorate, and Scamwatch.
So, you know, I'm not going to throw you up there because I don't really want police knocking on anybody's doors unless they're actually doing some serious shit.
Using our platform to be
look, fucking around the line's one thing, but some of these cats take it pretty seriously, and I don't want you guys ended up in trouble, no matter who it is.
Probably an appropriate time to say, if you really want to have a say, ring us up, book a time, come in on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind, no problem at all.
Come in on the show in person.
We've said it to every candidate. We've said it to everybody on the planet
with your name tag.
Yes, own it. It's cool, you know. Like, so it's all cool. But that's one of those ones aren't going to go up because apparently you're going to be, I don't know, some investigation or some shit going on there. And so I'm not going to be responsible for throwing anybody under a bus who doesn't deserve necessarily to be under a bus.
Well, and further to that, do you really want to give a platform to people that are obviously taking the piss?
No, look, I'm a
everyone's allowed to be have a sense of humour, but you know,
I'm a free speech absolutist. So when people come out and call me names or whatever, I'm happy enough to play by it.
If you want to say something funny behind someone else's pseudonym,
that's yeah. At least use your own names. Have the balls. It's fine. Yeah. But you know, look,
they will be using their own names when they report it in the paper.
Well, yeah, that's a bit of a worry. Yeah, love the hat. The Trump hat's pretty cool.
Yeah. The next thing we need to talk.
I know. Van Hal's a real person because they do shots every time we say what's the word? Fundamentally, there's shots going on at tomorrow. Crash repairs.
We're walking through, and we want to keep it happening and popping along. So
yeah, absolutely.
Probably the next and the last thing we need to probably touch on tonight is the list of candidates. What we see that they're going to bring to council.
Yep.
We'll talk about next week, and it might be on at a little bit slightly later time.
Yeah.
We're looking into ways of maybe live streaming.
Oh, because there's a T-beg.
So there's a Meet the Candidates T-beg function down at the Temora Ex-Services Club, Temora Ex-Services Memorial Club.
Yep.
So anyone who's
which will be a lot of fun. Yeah,
anyone who's got time, come down because. Most of the candidates will be down there presenting in a very short 3-minute presentation, which really doesn't give you much more time to say hello, goodbye, and how you've been in the middle.
I've cut costs, make sure everything's above board. I don't really care beyond that.
Anyway, depending on how many candidates turn up, it'll still take some time to get through. Starts at 6, I think, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Chance of some networking afterwards, although I feel a little bit left out in some of the advertising.
Actually, the advertising.
Deputy Mayor Graham Sinclair had a
he did his Nationals post. Yeah, I saw that.
A poster. And it's got everyone's name on it except 4 people.
4 people. So he's obviously picked and choose. I don't know.
Yeah,
we're not running a ticket or anything.
When they're talking about a council divided, well, imagine if one of those 4 people or 2 of those 4 people or 3 of those 4 people or 4 of those 4 people get on council and Graham gets on council.
Well, that's automatically going to be a little bit of division.
It's going to be awkward straight up.
Again, I don't even recall ever having a conversation with Graham. So, like, I mean, I don't have an issue with him. But it seems like maybe is that the we will agree no matter what crowd that he's supporting, or is it the ones that they think are the most pliable, perhaps
malleable?
You know, like
amenable.
I get it. I'm happy to share everybody's shit. You know, it doesn't worry me because I just want them
could
to
save on some electricity if they use gas lighting.
Could be. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Actually, I did put up a couple of my policies this week, and a few people have gone nuts that you can't do that sort of shit. But arguably, the naming rights of various local
facilities.
Locally owned facilities. And the feedback on that's actually been pretty good. Quite a lot of people, well, that's actually a pretty good idea. How would it work? And it's like everything that these people in various political circumstances put out. How it's going to work in
it works
is
look, what happens is most of the time that the users who are using that facility go out and get that sponsorship and they sell that space because they want to amortize their costs or offset their costs. There was something really positive for anyone who's interested to go back into the council's minutes from last month, where the TADVAC, who are a group of artists collective who operate out of the Temora Arts Centre, have put their hands up to voluntarily undertake the cleaning. Now, council had paid contract cleaners, and that was a cost to council, and that was forcing that facility to run at a loss.
Yeah, right.
So these volunteers have come forward and said, look, in order to help this facility become profitable, we're prepared to take on the cleaning role. Now, apparently, the centre manager is going to oversee the work that they're doing and make sure that it's done to a standard and keep an eye on it. But
Yep.
that, to me, is a group of volunteers who are taking ownership of their space.
Well,
They're doing everything within their power to make sure that the thing isn't a drain on council funds.
Yep.
And I can only applaud them.
Absolutely. I love how Barm Edmund Pool runs.
Yes.
I love it. I just think it's just brilliant. I'd love to see all that happen. I did also put out that I'd like to see DAs not only be really, really quick, but arguably anything under one story on anything under one story.
No, when you can actually go online and you can see the turnaround, and Tamora's turnaround
Pretty
is
good.
pretty good.
Yeah, sure.
There's Junee, I think, quicker, and there's a couple of other of our local compatriots or comparable councils that are slightly quicker than us. There's a couple who are a bit slower. Look, it's not much of it's a bit of a moot point nowadays because the New South Wales Planning Department introduced the planning portal. The stuff that turns up at council now is virtually done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's come through the portal. It's all boxed up. There's nothing for them to do. I think the New South Wales...
Nothing for them to do is the bit that excites me most.
Yes.
I want nothing for any of them to do.
And, well, there's little for them to do because most of it's been done through the process of the portal.
Yeah.
Now, there's inspections and all of that stuff that has to take place, but there's a lot of that work's been taken out at the front end. So I think it has had the effect of speeding things up. And what it's also done is it's taken any prospect of nepotism out of the equation because everyone comes through the front door and processes all that information the same way.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of that, what would you say, discretion that a council officer may once have had. It eliminates all that. So whilst there's some clunkiness to it, now I've been through the process myself. Whilst I was a councillor, I put in a DA.
Yeah.
To make sure that there was absolutely arm's length, and also the simple fact that I thought it represented great value for me was I engaged a third party to prepare and lodge the DA on my behalf.
No, and that's fairly transparent and accountable. But
and I paid that third party to lodge that on my behalf. I didn't have any interactions with council staff whatsoever. Other than
if a property owner though wants to build a shed in their backyard,
well, there are certain things that they call complying development. So provided that you tick a box, you just have to say, I'm going to do this, and it complies.
I don't even want to tick a box. If I own a property, and I'm happy enough to give the second story.
This is something though I discussed with someone just the other day.
Yeah.
More often than not, these rules are put in place because someone's been an F-wit.
Sure. And we're basing down to the lowest common denominator.
And we tend to have to legislate.
Shoots me to tears.
And then the next choice is, okay, then we have discretion. Then you get favouritism, then you get nepotism.
I don't need discretion. I own a block. Okay, I'm not putting up anything that's going to cover anybody else's shit. If I want to put up a shed, I want to put up a back room. You know, it's got to be...
The complying development, if you tick a few boxes and you've within the scope of what they can allow without a DA...
Nothing requires a DA.
No,
nothing.
Look, I'm going to disagragree only because there are certain people out there in the community who take the piss and they take advantage.
Absolutely.
And they what would you say?
If you're a property
they
developer,
take more than their share.
Sure.
And that might be the sunlight of the neighbour's sunlight. It might be more of their share of the neighbour's view. It might be more of their share of the neighbour's amenity. It might be more of their share of the neighbour's hearing because they just want to play, rock and roll heavy metal drums with a double kick at 1 o'clock in the night.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, look, as far as it goes, I think if it's your property, do whatever the hell you want. Deal with your neighbours.
I reckon if you're going to be that inconsiderate, you're double kick up the arse.
Well, but that's up to the neighbours to put in. No, and as far as building quality and stuff goes, people go, it's got to be safe enough. Insurance companies aren't gangsters.
This is the thing. If people are considerate of their neighbours, this wouldn't exist.
Well, but if I've said first story, right? So I'm going to go, all right, well, we're only going one story.
I don't like government either.
Not as much as I don't like it, but insurance companies are such gangsters to people that if you make a shonky building, they're not going to insure you.
Look,
so let them police it.
But even to the point where,
and if you don't want to be insured, that's on you. If your house burns down,
look at those
shit.
Absolute. What would you say? Opal Towers in Sydney is basically condemned before it's been lived in.
Yeah.
And that was all done with private certifiers.
Yes.
So they privatised the council's role and took out the council building inspector.
But
And then they've got private certifiers who are basically
Yes.
owned by the building companies, who've allowed the building companies to cut corners to the point where the building is a danger to its occupants.
absolutely. But where's the insurance company in that? Because they're not going to insure a building that's a complete dump.
Where are the poor bastards who've put down their
Well,
hard earned, they're locked into a contract?
That's when you're hoping that they've done their due diligence and checked out those
Well, they
companies
haven't.
properly.
They've trusted the system.
Well, yeah, and if anyone trusting a system is who hasn't learned
But
anything over the
surely-
last few years,
Surely
is
someone,
not paying attention.
surely someone this day and age, in a state with as much government as we've got, can surely expect that a dwelling that's constructed to using the Building Code of Australia and constructed to the relevant Australian standards
Well,
should perform adequately.
it just shows that it doesn't. It just shows it doesn't. Well, Mayor Ricky, but make you guess, Rick's as invited as any other candidate. If Rick would like to come in and sit here and have a conversation, and
But just for clarification's sake, Rick didn't come in last week.
he
Rick
didn't,
has-
apparently not.
Rick has said,
Rick has denied that he was here
Yeah.
last week, as has Mr. McCormack, as has Mr. Dunstan, which is
We've-
fair play. We can't
Council
tell the difference
investigated.
between which accounts what.
and the following parties have informed council that they did not comment live during the show. So that was the mayor, that was the Honourable Michael McCormack, and that was Director of Environmental Services, Mr. Chris Dunstan.
Which, that's very, very possible and very plausible, but we can't actually see
There was a
on
heap of
what
young
accounts. We've got
women
no idea.
making comments about you and wanting to get your phone number and stuff.
Well, they're only human, you know, like that's just what it is.
Okay, so let's
right.
get back on the so we've seen Councillor Sinclair's poster, so it's not very inclusive, it's quite divisive. He's talking about experience, yet most of the people he's got on that poster have never been on council.
Yes, that's interesting.
Who did he have? He had himself, he had the mayor, he had Councillor Judd, Councillor Bushell. There's the four that have got some experience. Then I think he had another 7 candidates who've never been on council.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's saying,
Experience.
get with us because we've got the experience.
It's interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, not that.
Well, it's an interesting marketing point. I don't know whether there's truth in advertising. But anyway, anyone who believes that can
I
believe it.
got a bridge out at Barm Edmund, I'll sell you.
Yes.
Waterfront property.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a nice brick structure at Barm Edmund, just on the corner, just past the pool there.
Yeah, right.
Under construction.
Well,
You could buy it off the plan.
premium, you know, that'll be the go. But
Now, okay, so that's that. Who else we got? We've got our inaugural winner of the Sleepy Joe Award,
yes,
Councillor Judd.
again, another bloke. I don't know him. I don't know if I've had
think he's
anything
going
to
to
do
bring
with
any surprises. I think after 46 years, people are pretty much know what they're going to get out of
Well, they're
Councillor
going to
Judd.
get out of Councillor Judd. Fair enough.
We've got the mayor going around again, and he's up and about.
Well, of course.
He's on the front foot. We've got Councillor Bushell.
Yep.
So she's a one.
I saw Belinda at footy the other day. Our kids are in the semi-finals,
Well,
which
she's
is
up
awesome.
and about. She's got some posters up, so she's
Oh, yeah, good. Fair enough.
out there promoting.
Fair play.
Now, there's myself, who's a first-term councillor, hopefully a second-term councillor. We'll see what the public thinks. But you know,
It's going to be an interesting show, that's for sure.
one point I did want to make
Yeah, go for it.
is when we were referring back to the New South Wales Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit reassured that the council elections are being run by the Electoral Commission. From what I've seen and the way some things have been portrayed and the way media releases have got misinformation in them, I just feel happier having an independent body conducting the elections. I'd hate to have them conducted by local people at a local level.
Yeah.
I know it's more expensive to have it that way, but there's a little bit more
Look,
arm's length, a little bit more transparency, perhaps a little bit more accountability, and less opportunity for. Not that I'm saying there's ever been.
well, yeah, who knows?
I'd hate to think there was any impropriety.
Well,
So that's where that's at now. Who else have we got? We've got yourself. Now I think all the viewers here know where you stand, so we probably don't need to go into that too much, other than come down to the club next Thursday and listen to his economic speech to the business community of tomorrow.
yeah, cut
should
costs,
get their
cut costs,
juices
cut
flowing.
costs, cut costs. Put business in charge. Privatise everything.
Now, the ones that didn't make Councillor Sinclair's poster, we've got Rob Matthews.
Well, that's interesting because Rob, I mean, I haven't had a lot to do with Rob. Met him a couple of times. Seems like a nice enough bloke.
local, young.
Young local family guy.
He's
Dr. Layman's grandkid.
He's a pilot.
Well,
He's I've attended quite a few of the Temora Aerodrome Users Committee meetings,
right.
and Rob often turns up to those. So he's I think he's tied up with Temora Flyers Inc., which is a group of air enthusiasts out at the airport. So he's fairly active in that space. So I think there's I can't recall in the most recent couple of iterations of council someone who's been so directly involved with the airport, yet it's a big segment of the community.
Yeah. How many people live out that way now?
Oh, I'm not sure off the top of my head. There might be 50 households.
That's a significant number.
I'm not sure.
That's
Maybe
not insignificant.
That might be an exaggeration.
We're not talking in exact figures.
There's hangars and houses
about how many. Yeah.
And all sorts of things. But it's a significant precinct, and there's a new subdivision under development plus power to add. So it's a growing sector of the community. They've got a voice. They've got a presence. So I expect he'll garner some support from that side, that community.
Yep.
He's a younger person, so I expect he'll probably have some support from the younger demographic.
You would hope so, yeah.
So
seems like a nice guy.
So that's Rob in a nutshell. I'm sure he'll do his own promo and his own policies.
Oh yeah, I think he's advertising in the paper and doing a few things like that. Yep. So that's cool, you know.
Who else? Marty Bushby put his post up.
I saw Marty come up with a Facebook page and what have you. And I used to play a bit of soccer with Marty, and he runs his own race, and he seems like he's his own, always been his own man, does his own thing. But hey, again, if you like him, vote for it.
Yes. Marty's probably got a supporter base in that he's tied up a bit with the Temora Bushwalking Group.
Yep.
So they're fairly active, and
he does like a land care thing, and
a lot of
more into that sort of environment.
A bit of land care stuff. So he's quite environmentally conscious.
Yep.
He's got a holding that he operates out on the edge of Inglebar Forest.
Yep.
And he's also involved in some NDIS stuff, some pro patria stuff.
Yeah. I'm pretty clued in with that.
Rehoming some horses. Also, he's involved with Open Minds, Brighter Futures.
Yeah.
The Temora Mental Health Awareness Group.
Yep.
So he's quite active in that. So he's got a.
So he must be some sort of a bad guy too, is he? All these.
Well, I don't know, but he's obviously got
stuff like that.
He's obviously got a group of people that he interacts with regularly, and he's got a community that he deals with. So you'd expect that he should garner some support from that. Okay, now we've got
who else is on that list? I didn't know all the people of them. Yeah, I don't know Mitch, but I shared his stuff the other day. Why not? Fair play to him.
Down at Golden Fields Water.
Yep.
He does he's got his own business now. This is a different. Mitch runs a business at the rec centre doing
Zumba guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is probably the model that we're most familiar with and probably most supportive of, whereby
he pays his own
private
operator, does his own thing.
Yes, and he pays for the use of the council facility.
Heaven forbid. That sounds outrageous.
So that's where Mitch sits into the scheme of things. So he sounds like a pretty health conscious guy who's obviously reasonably intelligent, considering and that's only I'm making a leap there considering the work he undertakes.
Yep. Yeah. Sure.
So
for sure.
Good to see a young person interested in the process.
Absolutely.
Brenton Hawkins.
Don't know Brenton either. He's a complete mystery box for me. What's his story?
He's the TAS teacher at Temora High.
What's TAS?
Trades and skills or something like that.
Right. Okay.
I'm not exactly sure of the acronym.
Yep.
There's a lot of them. Everyone talks in that.
Everyone loves their acronyms.
Yes, and it's just acronyms in they're just everywhere in local government.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere and everywhere. That's just what life is.
So
that's interesting. So what's he like? Do you know? Have you met him? Do you know?
He seems to be fairly politically active. I think he took part in the youth parliament years ago. I think he's from Parkes or Forbes originally.
Right.
So he's
I've got a mate running out in the Parkes electorate.
I don't think he's not more born and bred, but he certainly knows inland rural Australia.
My family landed here in 1845 or some bloody thing. Like it was the first recorded marriage into more of an ancestor of mine. So I'm not anywhere near a local yet.
No, but from that perspective, he understands what life in these
Rural areas
is like,
and yeah, right.
understands the issues we face. He's pretty motivated about his education. He's a school teacher, so he would obviously have a perspective.
Yeah, good.
So he'll have his own opinions.
Oh, what?
Yes, I'm
Are
sure.
you allowed to do
I'm
that?
sure he'll bring his own opinions.
Good. I hope so. Then you'll get a vote from me. That
Yes.
sounds all right. Own opinions is important.
Okay, so far we've mentioned the 5 incumbent councillors.
Yep.
We've mentioned yourself, Rob, Marty, Mitch, and Brenton. So we've mentioned 10. So we've got 5 to go.
Who are we missing?
So we're missing Sigrid.
Yep.
Narelle.
Yep.
Ken Smith.
Kenny's back.
Kenny's back.
I don't know Ken either.
He's
to be
had
fair.
2 years and 9 months off.
Yeah.
He's been working out. He's been working out on the big bag. He's had,
Yeah, nice.
He's had the skipping rope out, and he's been running up and down the stairs, and he's ready to go.
Oh, nice. Good.
I don't know, but
I don't know either. I don't know some of these.
I don't know what would possess Kenny to come back for another swing.
Yeah, righto.
I really don't. I'm sure he gets on well with his wife. I'm sure it's not that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I don't know his wife either, so you know.
I'm sure he gets on well.
Yeah.
Lovely lady, and so I'm sure it's not that.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would go back in. It's like it's like the scene in The Godfather.
Yeah, they keep bringing me back in. Yeah.
I get out and they dragged me back in.
It's a bit like that. There's some mafioso shit that goes on.
So I don't know what Kenny's up to, but anyway, I don't know whether he just
Michael Francesi, who was an actual mafia gangster dude in America, wrote a book comparing the political system of America, obviously, with his life as a mafia boss. Like and
he would have.
And the parallels between them.
In the end, he would have concluded that the
political
system was much
far more corrupt. Yeah, that's exactly where he landed.
Now, okay, so we've got Kenny who's coming back out of retirement, but hey, he's fresh and he's ready to go.
Fair play, good job.
And Nigel needs some competition. So
okay, cool.
So that's Kenny. We've got Pocket Dynamo, Narelle Pello.
Yeah,
Narelle Jukic. Sorry, I keep saying Narelle Pello because
I think she was Narelle Pello for a long time, was she not? Yeah.
So
she works her clacker off.
Yeah,
everywhere I go around town, she's belting around 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, and if she's not there, she's at Woolworths. Like she's just go. Energizer bunny.
I don't think anyone can question her work ethic. No, I don't know much about her politics.
On the show committee. I think she might be president of the show committee. No, or she's certainly on the show committee and takes a prominent role there. So that's another job that she does for the community. Very community minded.
Nice.
Tough as boots.
Yep.
Forthright enough, I think, to speak her own mind. So she'll be great value if she can get elected.
Yep.
So we've had Kenny, we've had Narelle, we've got Phil Blyer, Paul Mahon, and Sigrid Carr.
Okay, well, Sigrid had a great interaction with me on Facebook the other day.
Yep.
There's some probably ideas that we don't share, but I thought that was, it was good that she was willing to interact and have a bit of a debate, and not hide behind. A lot of people love hiding.
False pseudonyms.
False pseudonyms. I can
impersonating a federal member of parliament.
Yeah, well, hey, look, horses for courses.
But so
she's at least happy to interact and debate with you. And Sigrid, if you want to come in here and have a chat, the next couple of weeks, come on in.
We're running out of days.
We're running out of days. There's only so many Thursdays, and I'm not adding too many extra days because, Christ, I've got enough shit going on. I'm a busy guy.
Paul Mahon.
Okay, Paul. I vaguely remember him as a kid. Is that Alicia's father?
Yes.
He's a police officer.
And Matt.
Yeah. Well, Alicia was friends with my sister at school.
Yep.
And I mean, she's got a lot of. I've always found her to be pretty spot on. I've never had any issues with her.
Down the line, and she's
she's probably a bit more in favour of law and order than what I am. But in saying that, I've always found her to be a straight shooter.
She's working hard, actually, employed as a
police officer, and if that's a reflection a reflection of a dad, then I've got no issues with that.
And that's one area where Temora really does excel. It's a very safe community.
Well, yeah, most of the time.
No,
well, I mean, I hope the golf carts have been sort of knocked off the other day. There's a few things going on.
a pretty poor thing, but it's the incidence and the seriousness of the crime that we have to endure here is at a low level compared to some places in Australia. So we do have to be grateful for the work that everyone does in the community.
We've had some great coppers over the years.
And that also comes back to the interaction with council and other, even the local security service providers, and everyone's working together. And more often than not, the community will help and offer information to help resolve a matter. You know what I mean? The police aren't left just on their own to try and work these things out.
What's that leave us with? Phil Blyer.
So we got Paul. So Paul used to be a partner in
Southwest Fuel.
Well, at
Ford,
the time, it was called Temora Fuel Distributor.
There you go. Okay, cool.
So I think he started off as the Shell distributor.
Yeah, righto.
And then started Temora Fuel Distributors. I don't know about the birth of the company, but his partner was Mark Graham.
Yep.
Mark's wife Meryl is a great.
She looks after the cemetery and does
she
some
does
great
work
there.
Friends of the Cemeteries. She's just finished a book on the Chinese history and the heritage in Temora. That's at the printers as we speak, and she's a hard worker on behalf of the Temora Heritage Committee. So that's Mark's side. But anyway, Paul's side. Paul left the fuel business when they sold to a new owner. I think he took over the piggery out to the west of town.
Yep.
There was a private piggery out there. I don't know whether that's still going. I think he's still got land out there.
Yeah, right.
He's probably a guy who's got some experience in business and some time on his hands. I don't know whether I would prefer to be fishing or travelling around Australia and having enjoyable experiences or being on council. But, he might want to give back, and good on him.
Yeah, fair play.
And I think the same thing could be said for Phil Blyer. Phil Blyer was originally, they had the Retrovision franchise.
Yeah, I remember.
French TV, which I think was started by his dad.
Yeah, okay. There is a lot of second and third generation money floating around in this town.
They had the one here, they had one in West Wyalong.
Yeah.
Then they sold or were bought out by, I think Retrovision went bad in New South Wales. And then I think Harvey Norman took them over. Then Harvey Norman shut the West Wyalong store, kept the Temora store. So on Phil's bio, it says he worked for Harvey Norman.
Yeah.
And Phil's now retired. So
I think he does the Blyer Cup with some of the footy stuff. And
I think at the moment he's actually travelling around in Ireland sampling the finest that Ireland has to offer. And I think they've got whiskey and good beer over there.
Yeah, Ireland seems like it all right. Well, actually, they're having their own bloody bombs go over there. Their country's a bit of a mess. But in saying that,
Phil's, I don't know what would bring you out of retirement, a happy and productive retirement, when you could be playing golf and you've got to sit in a room and talk about
shit.
Well, less than inspiring matters at times. But anyway, well, that's the field.
That's the field. Fair enough.
I imagine some local bookie's going to put a market up.
They should.
Yes. Sportsbet. I don't think Sportsbet will go as to run a market on Temora local government elections. But
stranger things have happened.
I'd love to see a market.
Just while we've got you, councillor, is there anything? This looks like pretty serious sort of a question. Is there anything local councils can do to ease the cost of living crisis for Will? Now, I don't know, Will, sorry, mate, but I do appreciate you going to the trouble of asking something like that, because I think it's important.
Well, I think that's where councils do have a role to play, and that's where councils need to restrict their unnecessary expenditure and try and constrain rate rises as much as possible. One thing I said at the most recent council meeting where councillors' pay was discussed, I said, I don't believe councillors should draw any pay if we cannot deliver a surplus budget. So I don't think councillors should be paid until the council is delivering a surplus budget.
Oh, that's fair and reasonable.
Yeah, and I have heard it said before that councils' costs are rising at a rate that is unsustainable, and in the future,
not just this council, this is councils across the country,
a special rate variation might be required, which is an increase in rates. I think every opportunity
decrease in spending
to decrease expenditure before that occurs is required, because I know how much I've got kids in that with mortgages, and I know how much that cost of living is biting really, really hard. And what can councils do? Councils can try and create productive roles that pay well so that people can counter the cost of living crisis by getting gainfully employed and making a good, fair income for the work that they do. We can work on trying to keep the costs increases to an absolute minimum and possibly, in some cases, reductions.
I'd be aiming for reductions at every opportunity, but that's me. I'm a tight ass, especially with other people's money.
Yeah, so that's, and I really do try every opportunity to try and rein in expenditure. I didn't get a seconder for my suggestion to not get paid unless we delivered a surplus. And this year, I think we're already on track with a couple of unexpected expenditures
to be over
to be in deficit.
Look, and I've always stayed away from local politics really because I don't think there's a lot of direct change you can make at councils. Really, it's potholes, rates, rubbish. Well, reducing rates, rubbish. Mow the parks, keep the sewerage going.
Yes, but at a community level, and that's where it's at for me.
Sure,
I know what's going on at a federal level, and I know what's going on at a state level, and I really can't impact those things. But what I can impact is the immediate community where I live.
Sure.
And I have got people who have thanked me for helping them on a lot of occasions in this last term of council, and pretty much every month I will come home and my wife will say, well, how was that? And I'll say, I helped so-and-so this month. So it's a tick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's about, and look, because of my position and my previous interactions with council, I can advocate for them and I understand the processes. So I can handle some of these situations that are less than desirable.
Yeah.
And get a good outcome for these people.
Mate, sure. And they're the one-on-one things. I think overall, unfortunately, the cost of living crisis is going to continue. I suspect it's going to get worse.
Well, councils can't do much about the cost of power.
Councils can't
do much about the cost of food.
That's right.
We can't do much about the cost of housing because we don't own the land. One thing look, all of the planning conditions are pretty much put in by the state. I know that's a bit of a buck pass, but
yeah, but there's not, and that's the sad thing about it. Look, our government during COVID overspent and raped and pillaged, and
now they're trying to claw it back.
Now they're trying to claw it back, and everybody's paying the price for it.
Insurance companies can't meet their outgoings, so they're jacking their prices. I heard one thing that was horrifying: 15% of people are spending 1 month's income on insurance.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's a complete rule. It's mafia shit.
That doesn't leave much.
Doesn't leave much for food, water, and electricity, particularly with electricity going through the roof because of this ridiculous green dream that they're crapping on about.
Well, I don't even know about that. I think there's a lot more to that. Also, I believe that the Australian federal government has sold our raw materials, our assets, our natural gas.
Chris Bowen, the spaz,
for nothing. Yeah, but prior to that,
Bowen,
this is bullshit. Australia. Albo's talking about having this manufacturing revolution in Australia. What with? The most expensive power in the world, you muppet.
Absolutely.
And they've sold our birthright. They have sold the country out from underneath us to global corporate interests.
And it's not just the Labor Party; it's the Liberal Nationals. They're all in on it. That's the disgusting. And that's where everything else just smashes everyone. Yeah. Sorry, Will, I haven't got any great news there for you.
No,
what I can say is I've been watching what's been going on in Argentina very closely, and that is really valuable to see what the new president over there is doing for cost of living crisis. He's absolutely, arguably gutted government to 2/10 of bugger all, and their economy is on track.
I think the New South Wales government have slashed and burned. I think they were going to slash 10% of their workforce in one.
I think Ruddock's in there stirring the pot fairly hard. I'll give Johnny credit for that one. Like he's given them a hard time. But while our government spend like drunken sailors, or or the dirty housewives of Melbourne, or whatever, just unabated, it's just going to keep getting worse. While ever we're doing the opposite of reinvesting in coal, which, let's be fair, coal works, our power is going to keep going through the roof.
And look, one of the big fundamental things, and people don't pick up on these big global ideas.
Yeah.
Globalisation. If you extrapolate the whole thing out, globalisation results in an averaging of living standards across the globe.
Yeah, low.
Well, no, for some people, high.
Well,
Australia enjoys comparatively high standard of living.
absolutely.
So in order for globalisation to manifest, Australia's living standard across the demographics will lower.
Yeah.
I think that's in process as we speak.
We can see it in our capital cities where people are getting stabbed and robbed and raped and pillaged on a weekly basis.
The great Australian dream of owning your own home is evaporating daily. It is a real struggle for sensible middle class people to survive and pay their bills and afford the lifestyle that they afforded quite easily 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's where we've been sold a pup. Another big area where I think is just absurd at the moment, and I don't want to be protectionist or put up the wall, but here we are with a cost of living crisis, housing affordability almost at unattainable levels. We can't keep up housing supply. We've got people even in this,
and yet with all
community,
with all this shortage, we've still got building companies all over the country going broke on a weekly basis.
Yes,
so
but we've got
something doesn't add up.
But we've got immigration running at 500,000 and 600,000 people.
Yeah.
So they're flooding these cities and then further spreading out into the regions with people, and there's no houses for them.
Yeah.
So all we're doing
I
is
get calls weekly from people going, do you know of any rentals? Is there anywhere? Is there, where do we go? Where do we go? What do we do?
Consistently. So that's another bullshit product of mismanagement. Now, I don't know what their reasoning is behind it. I think that they need these people to do jobs, but they're not bringing in the right skilled people to do the jobs.
No.
They're bringing in people who are baristas. We've got enough baristas.
There's enough coffee shops.
We need people who can hit a nail. We need people who can dig a hole. So, the whole thing's a scam. They're the cost of living crisis. That's where it is. It's in globalisation. It's in the green dream. It's in Australia selling their natural resources, the birthright of every Australian person, to global corporate interests for a pittance, and then buying it back at an absolute,
at a premium.
Yes,
dumbasses.
And absolutely flooding an already under pressure market.
I'm going to reiterate for the people watching. So I had a conversation with a mate of mine the other day who's been courted very heavily by the Nationals up in the Hunter region. He's in the mines, and they want him to be their lead candidate because he's Mickey Mouse. He's awesome. He's refused because the Nationals still support the net zero bullshit.
Yes.
Now, there's not a chance in hell. The Nationals used to have maybe a little bit of integrity, maybe a little bit of something. At the moment, they're at best a wet blanket.
I'm not advocating open slather, burn the joint to the ground, but surely, if we are going to transition to some sort of a renewable economy in the future, it's got to be a managed transition, and we've got to take advantage of renewable.
None of them are renewable anyway.
Look,
solar panels are in the bin after 30 years.
Yes, but
the wind farms are bloody broken. The amount of oil and concrete and steel. That's just a complete farce.
There are situations where this renewable stuff is quite handy.
Oh, I've got solar panels on my roof.
Yes,
but
I take them out camping instead of a generator.
Absolutely. They're not going to save the planet. We need coal. We need lots of coal, and nuclear is pretty good too.
Well,
but that's my take on it.
Nuclear, run by sensible people with some.
I'll put it on my to-do list.
Yeah, well, don't put it next to me.
I'll put it near my house. That'll be fine. That'll be all right. Ladies and gentlemen, look, we're coming up to an hour and a half. That was kind of fun.
I think we covered off on most of the big things, and we've got some. I just thought the feedback from last week's show was exceptional. I'm pretty disappointed in Pete, but I know he went a bit hard last week, and I think
I've just looked Pete's a spaz. There,
I think he just got
put that on the front page of your paper. You're a spaz.
He just got very lazy, and I think I think it was just a very poor effort this week.
Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, I have enjoyed this because I do enjoy it probably far more than I'm supposed to.
Well, the platform here is a little bit more. There's a little bit more freedom here than perhaps you enjoyed at your previous.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Community service announcement project.
Oh, that's where we're going. Better do this last little one here.
Oh, right.
Just to keep our mates at the Electoral Commission happy, we better give them 30 seconds of that.
Okay.
Authorised by me, not you. This one. I don't know. We can do one of each. We take turns. But look, everybody vote for whoever the hell you want to. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really care all that much.
For transparency's sake, we should both at this point in time, authorised by yourself, and be quite clear that we are both candidates in the upcoming New South Wales local government elections in the Shire of Temora, to be held on the 14th of September. And make sure you sharpen up your pencils and pluck up some courage and get into that box
And vote for whoever you like.
and vote for whoever you reckon is going to do the right job.
Absolutely. I
Don't
can give a
pick
rat's ass whether
don't
you vote
pick
for
a
me or
job.
not.
Don't sell your vote.
No, that's definitely not. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. We'll see you next Thursday. Again, remember, we've got the 2 big event, so we'll have to
We
work
might have a
on
later start time. We'll just keep you informed.
All right, everyone,
Have
have
a
a
good week.
great week.